God had a very important job for Jonah. He wanted Jonah to be his messenger and deliver a crucial message. He wanted Jonah to go to Nineveh, a great city known for its grandeur and its wickedness. The people of Nineveh were not very nice. They were known for their cruelty and their evil ways. God wanted Jonah to tell them to be kind and to change their ways, to turn away from their sins. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. He was filled with fear and doubt. He was scared of the people there. He thought they might harm him, so Jonah decided to run away. He thought he could escape his responsibility. He went to the sea and got on a big ship. He hoped to flee far away. It was going to a place called Tarshish, far from Nineveh. Jonah thought he could hide from God, but Jonah was wrong. God could see him everywhere. There was no place Jonah could go where God wouldn't find him. God was not happy with Jonah for running away. He decided to teach Jonah a lesson. He sent a huge storm to the sea. The wind howled fiercely and the sky grew dark. Waves crashed onto the ship, tossing it around like a toy. The sailors were terrified. They'd never seen such a storm. They thought the ship would sink. They feared for their lives and didn't know what to do. The storm raged on and on, with waves crashing violently against the ship. The wind howled and the sky was dark with ominous clouds. The sailors knew something was terribly wrong. They had never seen a storm like this before. They thought someone on the ship had made God angry. Whispers and suspicions spread among them. In their desperation, they decided to throw dice to find out who it was. The tension was palpable as the dice rolled. Guess what? The dice pointed to Jonah. The sailors turned to him, eyes wide with realization. Jonah knew he had been caught. His heart sank as he felt the weight of his actions. He confessed to the sailors, "It's my fault. I ran away from God." "I ran away from God," he admitted, his voice trembling with regret. "Now he has sent this storm to punish me," Jonah explained, the storm raging around them. Jonah told the sailors to throw him into the sea. He believed this was the only way to save them. He knew this was the only way to calm the storm. His face showed resignation and acceptance. The sailors didn't want to hurt Jonah, but they were desperate. They hesitated, torn between fear and compassion. Finally, they lifted Jonah and threw him overboard. The decision weighed heavily on their hearts. As soon as Jonah hit the water, the storm stopped. The transformation was immediate and miraculous. The sea became calm and peaceful again. The sailors were amazed. They couldn't believe their eyes. They knew God was powerful. The experience left them in awe of his might and mercy. Jonah splashed into the water. The waves were rough and the sea seemed endless. He struggled to stay afloat, gasping for air as the cold water engulfed him. Suddenly, a giant fish swam by and swallowed him whole. It happened so quickly that Jonah barely had time to react. One moment he was fighting the waves, and the next he was inside the belly of a massive creature. Jonah found himself in the belly of the giant fish. It was a strange and terrifying place, unlike anything he had ever experienced. The walls of the fish's stomach were slimy and pulsating. It was dark and smelly inside. The air was thick and hard to breathe. Jonah could hear the muffled sounds of the ocean outside, but inside it was eerily quiet. Jonah was scared, but he knew God was with him. Despite the fear and uncertainty, he felt a glimmer of hope. He remembered the stories of God's mercy and power. He prayed to God from the fish's belly. His prayers were filled with desperation and faith. He asked for deliverance and guidance, hoping that God would hear him even in this dark place. Jonah asked God to forgive him for running away. He realized his mistakes and felt deep remorse. He knew that he had disobeyed God's command and wanted to make things right. He promised to obey God from now on. Jonah made a vow to follow God's will, no matter how difficult it might be. He was determined to change his ways and be faithful. Jonah stayed inside the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. During this time, he reflected on his life and his choices. The days were long and the nights were even longer. He had a lot of time to think about his mistakes. He pondered over his actions and the consequences they had brought. He realized the importance of obedience and trust in God. Finally, God commanded the fish to spit Jonah out onto dry land. The fish obeyed, and Jonah found himself on the shore, gasping for fresh air and feeling the solid ground beneath him. Jonah was so relieved to be free. He learned his lesson. The experience had changed him profoundly, and he was grateful for the second chance. He would never disobey God again. Jonah was now resolute in his faith and committed to following God's path, no matter where it might lead him. Jonah went straight to Nineveh, just like God asked. He told the people about God's love and forgiveness. He warned them to stop being mean. The people of Nineveh listened to Jonah's words. They felt sorry for the bad things they had done. They stopped being mean and started being kind to each other. God saw that the people of Nineveh had changed their ways. He forgave them and did not punish them. Jonah learned that God loves everyone. He learned that God gives everyone a second chance. And that's the story of Jonah and the whale.